Chris and Marcus were seasoned burglars, notorious for their audacious heists and impeccable planning. But on this particular night, as they targeted a seemingly ordinary suburban house, they had no idea they were stepping into a meticulously orchestrated trap. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the quiet neighborhood. Chris and Marcus approached the house, their steps muffled by the darkness. Their gloved hands gripped their tools of the trade, lockpicks, flashlights, and a bag ready to be filled with valuable loot. They exchanged a confident glance before Marcus began working on the lock, his skilled hands deftly manipulating the tumblers. With a satisfying click, the door swung open, revealing a dimly lit hallway. The scent of polished wood and old books wafted through the air. Chris and Marcus stepped cautiously into the house, their senses alert for any signs of movement or security measures. But what they encountered was far more sinister than any alarm system. As they moved deeper into the house, they realized something was amiss. The air grew heavy, charged with an electric tension. The floor creaked under their weight, as if the very house itself was aware of their presence. Unbeknownst to the burglars, they had fallen into the clutches of a mastermind who had meticulously planned their torment. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, jolting Chris and Marcus from their cautious exploration. They exchanged a wary glance, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. The once inviting hallway now felt like a sinister labyrinth, trapping them within its twisted design. With trepidation, they continued their search for valuables, their instincts battling against the growing unease that gnawed at their minds. Each room they entered seemed to hold a secret, as if the house itself reveled in their intrusion. The walls whispered tauntingly, the flickering lights casting eerie shadows that danced in the periphery of their vision. It was in the grand study, with its floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and antique furniture, that their nightmare truly began. As they approached a large mahogany desk, a hidden mechanism was triggered, causing the room to shift and twist. The bookshelves groaned, closing in on them, trapping them within the confines of the study. Panic set in, their hearts pounding in their chests as they realized their escape was cut off. In a desperate attempt to free themselves, Chris and Marcus searched for an exit, their gloved hands frantically pressing against the walls, their eyes darting around for any sign of a hidden passage. But the house was a maze of secrets, designed to keep them ensnared in its clutches. The minutes turned into agonizing hours as they fought against the relentless grip of their prison. Exhausted and disoriented, they stumbled upon a locked door that seemed to offer a glimmer of hope. Marcus used his lockpicking skills once again, this time with a renewed sense of urgency. With a click, the door swung open, revealing a staircase leading to the basement. Though their instincts screamed to turn back, a flicker of determination pushed them forward. The basement was a realm of darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The air was musty, heavy with the scent of dampness and decay. As Chris and Marcus cautiously descended the stairs, their footsteps resonated through the silence, amplifying their unease. Suddenly, the light bulb flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced along the walls. Chris and Marcus felt their pulses quicken, their senses heightened in anticipation of what awaited them in the depths of this house of horrors. And then, as if guided by some unseen force, they stumbled upon a room that made their blood run cold. The room was a grotesque chamber of pain, adorned with an array of sadistic devices. Chains hung from the ceiling, their metal links glinting ominously. Tables lined the walls, each one equipped with restraints and implements of torture. The air was thick with a sinister energy, as if the room itself hungered for the agony of its victims. Fear clutched at Chris and Marcus, their minds struggling to comprehend the nightmare that unfolded before them. It became painfully clear that they were not the first to fall prey to this malevolent trap. In their frenzied search, Marcus stumbled upon a hidden lever disguised as a coat rack. With a desperate yank, he triggered a mechanism that sent the room into a whirlwind of chaos. The floor beneath their feet shifted, tilting at a precarious angle. The restraints and devices came alive, their mechanisms engaging with sadistic precision. Chris and Marcus clung to each other, their survival instincts kicking into overdrive. They navigated the treacherous terrain, evading swinging pendulums and razor-sharp blades that threatened to cleave them in two. Each step was a perilous dance with death, their minds and bodies pushed to the limit. Miraculously, they managed to reach the exit just as the room settled back into an eerie stillness. Covered in cuts and bruises, their bodies aching from the ordeal, they stumbled out into the hallway. But their torment was not over yet. As they made their way back through the house, they encountered further traps designed to torment and ensnare them. Floors gave way beneath their feet, revealing chasms that threatened to swallow them whole. Walls closed in on them, forcing them into claustrophobic spaces. It was a relentless onslaught, an assault on their bodies and spirits. But through sheer determination and a will to survive, Chris and Marcus pushed forward, enduring the unimaginable as they fought their way out of the labyrinth of terror. The nightmarish house seemed to resist their escape at every turn, but they refused to succumb to its sadistic design. Finally, battered and broken, they burst through the front door, gasping for air as the cool night breeze washed over them. The moon, now fading on the horizon, bore witness to their triumphant escape. They collapsed onto the dew-covered grass, their bodies trembling with a mix of exhaustion and relief. As the sun began to rise, casting its golden light over the once ominous house, Chris and Marcus knew they had survived a night that would forever haunt their nightmares. They vowed never to speak of their harrowing ordeal, each knowing that no words could adequately convey the horrors they had endured. In the aftermath of that fateful night, the house stood as a silent sentinel, its secrets hidden within its walls. It waited patiently for its next unwitting victims, unaware that Chris and Marcus had escaped its clutches, forever scarred by their encounter with a trap designed to torture the unwary. And as time passed, the house's dark reputation grew, its legend whispered in hushed tones among the criminal underworld. But none could fully grasp the depths of its malevolence, the pain it inflicted, and the lives it forever altered. For Chris and Marcus, the house would forever serve as a chilling reminder of the fine line between greed and the price one pays when tempted by the lure of ill-gotten gain. The city of Delphos had always been a peaceful and idyllic place. Its cobblestone streets were lined with quaint shops and charming houses, and the townsfolk went about their daily lives with a sense of contentment. However, beneath the serene facade, a dark secret lingered. A secret that would soon unravel in a most horrifying way. It began on a stormy night, when the residents of Delphos were awakened by blood-curdling screams that pierced the darkness. The source of the screams was a young girl named Emily, who had fallen into a fitful sleep plagued by nightmares. Her parents rushed to her side, desperately trying to calm her, but she was inconsolable. In her dream, Emily found herself in a desolate wasteland, a place devoid of life and filled with an eerie silence. The sky above was an ominous shade of crimson, and the air was thick with an otherworldly presence. As she wandered through the barren landscape, she stumbled upon a nightmarish sight, a grotesque creature with twisted limbs and glowing red eyes. The creature's presence filled her with an inexplicable terror, and it reached out towards her with jagged claws. Emily woke up with a start, drenched in sweat and her heart pounding in her chest. She clung to her parents, seeking solace in their embrace, but little did they know that the horrors of her nightmare were about to become all too real. The next day dawned with an unsettling stillness, the The townsfolk of Delphos went about their usual routines, unaware of the impending nightmare that awaited them. As the morning progressed, however, strange occurrences began to unfold. It started with the birds, usually cheerful and vibrant. Their songs filled the air with melody. But today, they were absent. The skies were eerily devoid of their graceful flight, and the silence was deafening. A sense of unease settled over the town, and whispers of worry began to circulate among the people. As midday approached, the nightmare intensified. Shadows seemed to grow longer and more sinister, creeping along the streets. As night fell, the nightmare fully manifested itself. The sky transformed into a sickening shade of crimson, mirroring the haunting dream that had plagued Emily the night before. The air crackled with a foreboding energy, and the sound of distant howls echoed through the deserted streets. The townsfolk huddled in their homes, their hearts pounding in their chests. But even behind locked doors, they were not safe. The twisted creature from Emily's nightmare roamed the town, its glowing red eyes illuminating the terror-stricken faces of those unfortunate enough to cross its path. Panic gripped Delphos as the creature left a path of destruction in its wake. Buildings crumbled under its touch, and the once charming streets became a twisted labyrinth of rubble and despair. The town's inhabitants, driven to desperation, attempted to flee, only to find themselves trapped within the confines of their own nightmare. Emily's parents, realizing the connection between their daughter's dream and the horrors unfolding before them, sought her out in a desperate attempt to find answers. They found her in her room, huddled in a corner, her face pale and eyes filled with terror. She trembled as she recounted her nightmare, her words punctuated by sobs. But within her fear, there was a glimmer of hope. Emily remembered the moment when she had faced the creature in her dream, a moment of sheer terror that had transformed into defiance. She realized that she held the key to ending the nightmare that had engulfed her town. With her parents by her side, Emily mustered her courage and ventured out into the nightmarish streets. The creature loomed before them, its grotesque form a stark contrast to the courage burning within Emily's heart. She locked eyes with the creature, her fear slowly giving way to determination. In a single decisive moment, Emily unleashed a surge of energy from within. Light erupted from her fingertips, enveloping the creature in a blinding glow. The darkness that had plagued Delphos shattered, replaced by a dazzling brilliance that banished the nightmare. Emily's nightmare had become a reality, but she had also found the strength to overcome it. Her story became a legend in Delphos, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable horrors, there is always hope. And so the city of Delphos rose from the depths of darkness, forever changed by the nightmare that had come true. But it would never forget the young girl who had turned the tide, transforming a scene from a nightmare into a testament of resilience and the triumph of light over darkness. Detective Laura Collins was known for her tenacity and unwavering dedication to solving even the most heinous crimes. But when a cryptic tip led her to a dark website centered around demonic killers, she found herself on a chilling path she could never have anticipated. Little did she know that her investigation would unravel a web of horror, testing her sanity and belief in the natural order. With a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, Laura delved into the depths of the internet's underbelly, navigating encrypted forums and disturbing conversations. The website was a virtual hub where individuals obsessed with the occult and demonic entities gathered. The atmosphere was thick with malevolence, and as she read through the macabre discussions, a cold shiver ran down her spine. Strange occurrences began to taint Laura's world as her investigation progressed. Her reliable computer glitched inexplicably, displaying haunting images that flickered between reality and a realm of darkness. At first, she dismissed it as a mere technical malfunction, attributing it to the strain of the case weighing on her mind. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was at play. One evening, as Laura delved deeper into the website, an anonymous message arrived in her inbox. The chilling words urged her to abandon the investigation before it consumed her. Though the warning sent a shiver down her spine, Laura's determination outweighed her fear. She had a duty to uncover the truth, regardless of the personal cost. Days turned into nights as Laura's physical and mental well-being deteriorated. Haunting nightmares plagued her sleep, each one more vivid and terrifying than the last. Visions of shadowy figures engaged in grotesque rituals invaded her subconscious, leaving her drained and vulnerable. The lines between Laura's investigation and reality blurred. She began noticing inexplicable phenomena in her surroundings. Desperate for answers, Laura sought the guidance of Professor Alexander Kane, an enigmatic expert in the occult. Together, they embarked on a treacherous journey, determined to unveil the truth behind the demonic killers and the dark forces at play. But with each revelation, the web of deceit grew more dangerous and twisted. As their investigation neared its climax, Laura and Professor Kane found themselves in a race against time to halt the unimaginable. The demonic killers they had researched were not mere urban legends. They were real, and their sinister influence was spreading like wildfire. A malevolent presence sought to break free from the confines of the dark web, manifesting its evil in the physical world. In a climactic showdown, Laura confronted the embodiment of evil itself. The demonic killer, possessed by an ancient and malevolent entity, taunted her with promises of power and an end to her suffering. But fueled by her unwavering determination and the lives hanging in the balance, she resisted its temptations, refusing to succumb to its darkness. Through sheer grit and an unbreakable will, Laura managed to banish the dark entity back to its shadowy domain. The investigation had taken a toll, leaving scars that would never fade entirely. But it had also revealed her indomitable spirit, a testament to her unyielding dedication to protect the innocent from the horrors that lurk in the depths of humanity's collective nightmares. As the dust settled, Laura Collins emerged from the darkness, forever changed by her encounter with the demonic killers and the dark website. She became a symbol of resilience and unwavering bravery, a guiding light in the face of Ever since childhood, Noah had cultivated a close-knit group of friends. They were like a second family to him, always there to lend an ear, share a laugh, or offer a helping hand. They shared countless memories together, from schoolyard adventures to late-night conversations about dreams and aspirations. But little did Noah know that their tight bond would soon be tested in the most bewildering way. It started innocuously enough. One sunny afternoon, Noah arranged a casual gathering at his favorite local cafe. He eagerly anticipated the familiar warmth of their laughter and the comfort of their company. As the designated meeting time approached, he arrived at the cafe, eager to see his friends. However, to his surprise, he found himself alone, surrounded by empty chairs and vacant smiles. Perplexed, Noah shrugged off the initial concern, assuming that his friends were running late. Minutes turned into hours, yet there was no sign of them. Noah decided to call their cell phones, but to his dismay, each call went unanswered. His growing unease became a sinking feeling in his gut, as if a vital thread connecting him to his friends was slowly unraveling. Attempting to regain a sense of normalcy, Noah turned to others in the cafe, hoping for some explanation or confirmation of his friends' whereabouts. But to his bewilderment, no one seemed to notice their absence. Conversations flowed effortlessly, Laughter echoed in the air, and the world around him continued without a hint of disturbance. As days turned into weeks, Noah's friends remained missing, and the mystery deepened. He began to investigate, tirelessly searching for any trace of their existence. He scoured social media platforms, hoping for a digital footprint, but their profiles had vanished, leaving behind only a void of unanswered messages and unanswered questions. Noah's anguish grew as he traversed the city, retracing their shared memories and searching for any shred of evidence. Their favorite hangouts, doubt gnawed at Noah's mind. Was he losing his sanity? Were his friends mere figments of his imagination? The weight of isolation bore down on him, suffocating his spirit. Sleepless nights were plagued by unsettling dreams where faces blurred and voices faded into echoes. Yet Noah refused to accept this twisted reality. He delved deeper into the mystery, determined to uncover the truth. His search led him to a forgotten library, where dusty tomes whispered forgotten secrets. Amidst the hushed corridors, he stumbled upon an ancient manuscript, its yellowed pages filled with cryptic symbols and enigmatic passages. Driven by a glimmer of hope, Noah began to decipher the text. It spoke of a phenomenon known as the vanishing veil, a veil that shrouded select individuals, rendering them invisible to the world. According to the manuscript, those trapped within the veil would be forgotten by all, destined to exist in a realm of solitude. With newfound purpose, Noah immersed himself in the study of ancient lore and pursued any knowledge that could aid him in breaking the veil's hold. He discovered an old ritual that claimed to bridge the gap between the forgotten and the remembered. Guided by hope and desperation, he prepared to perform the ritual, determined to reunite his friends with the world that had forsaken them. As the moon reached its zenith, Noah stood in a forgotten clearing, surrounded by flickering candlelight and a palpable sense of anticipation. He followed the ritual's instructions meticulously, invoking ancient incantations and pouring his heart into each word. The air crackled with energy, and a surge of power coursed through his veins. In the stillness of the night, a subtle shift occurred. Shadows danced, and whispers carried on the wind. And then, as if emerging from a hidden realm, Noah's friends materialized before him. Their eyes held a mixture of confusion, relief, and lingering traces of the void they had endured. Overwhelmed with emotion, Noah embraced each of them. Noah and his friends emerged from that clearing forever changed. They carried the weight of an unfathomable experience, a bond forged through the crucible of isolation. Theirs was a story that defied the boundaries of ordinary existence, a testament to the strength of friendship and the resilience of the human spirit. From that day forward, they vowed to cherish their connections, never taking them for granted again. They became guardians of the forgotten, sharing their tale to remind others of the fragility of human bonds and the power of perseverance. Noah's journey had taught him that sometimes, in the face of inexplicable circumstances, it is our unwavering belief in the reality of our experiences that allows us to bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the quiet suburban street, Mark Miller found himself peering through his living room window, his eyes fixed on the house across the road. It belonged to his neighbor, Mr. Wilson, a seemingly ordinary man in his 50s. But Mark was convinced there was something sinister lurking beneath the surface, a cold, calculating serial killer. For weeks, Mark had meticulously observed Mr. Wilson's every move, piecing together what he believed to be a trail of evidence. He had kept a log, documenting Mr. Wilson's unusual behaviors, his comings and goings at odd hours, and his association with individuals of questionable character. To Mark, it was all a chilling puzzle. one that he was determined to solve. It started innocently enough, with a few minor observations. Mark had noticed Mr. Wilson burying something in his backyard late at night, an act that set off alarm bells in his mind. He had also overheard fragments of whispered conversations between Mr. Wilson and his guests, snippets of discussions that hinted at dark secrets and sinister intentions. But it was the disappearance of a local woman that truly set Mark's suspicions ablaze. Jennifer Turner, a vibrant and well-liked member of the community, had vanished without a trace, and Mark was convinced that Mr. Wilson was responsible. Driven by his obsession, Mark embarked on his own investigation, gathering information and compiling a case against his neighbor. He had become consumed by the hunt, losing himself in a maze of theories and conjectures. His once mundane existence had transformed into a twisted game of cat and mouse, with himself as both the hunter and the prey. As Mark delved deeper into his pursuit, a sinister plan took shape in his mind. He would frame Mr. Wilson for the crimes he believed him to have committed. The elaborate scheme involved planting evidence, manipulating. Late one evening, Mark broke into Mr. Wilson's house, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. He carefully placed incriminating items, an old blood-stained knife, a lock of hair, and a scrap of torn clothing, in strategic locations, all meticulously chosen to support his fabricated narrative. He had also planted surveillance cameras to capture footage that would further implicate Mr. Wilson. But as Mark went about his twisted task, an unsettling feeling began to creep over him. The line between reality and his own dark fantasies blurred, and he questioned the validity of his own memories. Had he truly witnessed Mr. Wilson commit these heinous acts, or were they creations of his own troubled mind? Days turned into weeks, and Mark continued to build his case against Mr. Wilson, the weight of his guilt and obsession growing heavier with each passing moment. But unbeknownst to him, the walls of his own carefully constructed facade were beginning to crumble. It started with a series of anonymous letters, each one delivered to Mark's doorstep, detailing his darkest secrets and fears. The letters spoke of his own hidden desires and the depths of his depravity. They were haunting, as if someone knew his darkest thoughts and was intent on exposing him. As Mark struggled to comprehend the origin of these letters, strange occurrences began to plague him. He would wake up in the middle of the night, covered in cold sweat, haunted by vivid nightmares that blurred the lines between fantasy and His paranoia grew with each passing day. Paranoia that someone was watching his every move, that his carefully constructed plans were unraveling. He became consumed by a constant state of fear and anxiety, his mind a battlefield of conflicting thoughts and emotions. As Mark sank further into madness, his obsession with Mr. Wilson intensified. He was convinced that the only way to save himself from the clutches of the looming darkness was to destroy the man he believed to be the true embodiment of evil. In his distorted reality, Mark saw himself as a hero, a vigilante fighting for justice, even if it meant sacrificing his own sanity. The fateful night arrived, a night that would forever change the lives of Mark and Mr. Wilson. Mark had meticulously staged the final act of his macabre play, setting the scene for the ultimate confrontation. He had lured Mr. Wilson to a secluded location, a place where Mark believed justice would be served. The two men stood face to face, the air thick with tension and unspoken truths. Mark's trembling hands clutched a knife, its cold steel reflecting the moonlight. In that moment, time stood still, the weight of their shared destinies hanging in the balance. But as Mark raised the knife, ready to strike the fatal blow, a sudden realization crashed upon him like a tidal wave. The truth tore through the fabric of his delusions, shattering the carefully constructed narrative he had crafted. It was in that moment of clarity that he saw himself for what he truly was: a monster driven by his own demons, projecting his darkest fears onto an innocent man. The realization struck Mark like a lightning bolt, sending him into a spiral of anguish and self-loathing. He dropped the knife, his hands trembling with a mix of horror and disbelief. Tears streamed down his face as he sank to his knees, the weight of his guilt and madness crushing him. As the dawn broke, its golden light casting a new day upon the shattered lives of Mark and Mr. Wilson, the truth unfolded. Mark had fallen victim to his own twisted psyche, a prisoner of his own delusions. He had become the very monster he sought to unmask, a tragic figure lost in a labyrinth of his own making. In the aftermath of his descent into darkness, Mark was left to grapple with the consequences of his actions. The lives he had shattered, the innocent he had accused, and the irreversible damage he had inflicted upon himself. It served as a haunting reminder, a cautionary tale of the dangers that lurk within the depths of our own minds. The human psyche is a fragile construct, capable of both extraordinary good and unimaginable evil. And in the twisted tapestry of the human soul, the line between victim and perpetrator can blur, revealing the true depths of our own humanity, or lack thereof.